Hello everyone, I'm Billy and let's talk books. So I just want to preface this by saying I am rapidly losing light, so if the quality of this video is bad and only goes downhill from here, I do apologise, but I wanted to get this video filmed today, so we're just gonna go ahead with it and get going with it. This video is a bit of a special one because I'm starting my YouTube channel right at the end of the year, in December, which I feel like is such a busy time for BookTube. We see all the end of year wrap-ups and the new year goals, things like that. So I kind of wanted to just jump in on that, even though I haven't been able to release anything this year. So it's kind of like a getting ready for the new year, getting ready for the new channel, but giving you a bit of an overview about what I've been doing this past year while I haven't been making videos. So we are going to be tier ranking everything I read this year. I feel like this is a way for me to kind of let you know what I've read this year, what I've thought about it, and also give you a little bit of spoilers for some upcoming videos because some of these books are actually going to be in my January videos, but I did read them this year, so I'm going to count them towards this little tier list. There are 28 books in total. Hopefully I can do better than that next year, but I'm happy with 28. I think that's a good amount. So without leaving it any longer while my light rapidly declines, let's get into it, shall we? Okay, here we are then. So I'm just going to get going, and these are all the books I read this year. I will tell you my tier list first. So the very top of the top is Love, Love, Love. I just adored these books. I loved them. I think they were the highlight of my year, basically. The next tier is This Was Fab. So I really enjoyed this. I had a great time reading it, but it might not have just been like one I absolutely adored. The middle tier is it could either mean I didn't think much of it, or like it was quite forgettable for me, or I thought there were great things, but I also thought there were things that needed to be improved on. The next tier is annoyed me. So that means this book might have disappointed me, or it might have not given me what I wanted, or it might have had elements to it that I just thought were bad. So yeah, annoyed me, but not the worst of the worst. And then the last tier is no, just no. These are the books that I have no words. There is nothing left to say, just no. Okay, so let's get going and get this rolling. I'm just going to go in the order of the books as they are on the screen here, and we will see. So I'm going to start with this Dinner for Vampires. Now, this is a memoir by Bethany Joy Lenz, also known as Joy, also known as Haley James from One Tree Hill. I was and am and will continue to be obsessed with One Tree Hill. It's one of my all-time favourite shows. It's my absolute comfort show. I watch it all the time and it always makes me feel better, and I just love the female characters, especially in One Tree Hill, so much. I really enjoyed their podcast as well. So I read this memoir basically because I love the actresses in the show, and this was love, love, love for me. I thought it was a fantastic exploration of control and abuse and growth. So this basically follows Joy as she struggles with her religion, and she gets intertwined with this religious group that starts off really lovely and welcoming, and she feels really seen and part of a community, and slowly over time this morphs and changes, and a certain pastor comes in and kind of restructures everything, and it turns into what becomes a cult. And she spent a lot of her life, a lot of the years filming One Tree Hill in this cult, and eventually escaped from the cult, and now she writes about her experiences. But I just thought it was absolutely fantastic. The writing was fantastic. She narrates the audiobook as well, which was just amazing, and I just thought it was written so well. I feel like she gave such a nuanced take, but also really explored how certain individuals can really abuse their power and can turn your own struggles and traumas and insecurities against you in a way that primes you for control. They just completely decimated her life, took so much money and time and power away from her, and I just found the read so compelling. I think even if you weren't a fan of One Tree Hill, you would find this a fantastic read. What a great exploration of how anyone, and I mean anyone, can really get pulled in and sucked in by not only like abusive structures and abusive communities, but by abusive people, friendships, relationships, all of the above. Just brilliant. I loved it. So Yellowface is next. I'm going to put this in This Was Fab. I loved Yellowface, actually. I thought that it was a really great way of poking fun at the publishing industry, and maybe like it was done in a fun way, in a satirical way, but also in a very real way. And I think that rfkuang did a great job in kind of highlighting the problems in this industry, especially for people of color. I should probably tell you what this is about, shouldn't I? I haven't done that. So this follows June Hayward, who is an author but hasn't had too much success, and her frenemy, we should say, Athena Liu, who has received critical acclaim for her work. This follows the two of them as they go to celebrate Athena getting, I think, a Netflix deal, and she tragically dies right in front of June, and then June steals her unpublished manuscript and publishes it as her own. And it really goes into this idea of how a white industry kind of takes narratives by people of color and exploits certain narratives for profit. It's not so much about diversity, but about utilizing that. And I really enjoyed this. I thought that the ending was a little bit questionable in terms of the reveals, but I did like the ending of how it finished, so I still found it quite satisfying. But yeah, I really liked rfkuang's style. I thought that her humor was fun. I felt that it could be kind of beaten over your head a little bit at times, but overall I just really loved this exploration of how the publishing industry wants to capitalize on diversity without actual diverse representation. Even Athena is just used and abused by the system, and I just thought it was a really interesting conversation. So yeah, this was fab. Ninth House. Oh, I'm not sure about this one. I'm between and This Was Fab. I'm gonna put it in and I'll say why, because this had so much potential for me. I loved the university setting. I loved the kind of dark academia, I think it's called, vibe to this. I really enjoyed Alex as a protagonist as well, but I was really let down by the structure and the pacing and some of the payoffs at the end, so it kind of disappointed me a bit. I really wanted to love this a lot more than I did, so yeah, I'm gonna put it there. This basically follows Alex as she gets accepted into Yale because she is able to see greys or ghosts. And at Yale, they have some secret societies that deal with the occult and magic, and part of that is dealing with the greys. So they accept her into this program, and we kind of follow her as she's uncovering kind of like some murder mystery type vibes and just getting to grips with the magic system. So yeah. Okay, this might be a controversial take, to be honest, and this is The Road, and I'm gonna put this okay, I'm gonna put this in Annoyed Me. I almost put it in No Just No, but I think there were some redeeming qualities here. First of all, this is a story that is set in a post-apocalyptic world where there's not many people left, and it follows a father and son as they try to survive and make it day by day. I love post-apocalyptic fiction. It's one of my favorite genres, and I really wanted to like The Road as well, but I just found it was so boring, slow, and depressing, and just miserable, and just the writing style and the way that Cormac McCarthy kind of just flowed into it without much punctuation and things like that. It just really didn't click with me. I think the one redeeming quality for me was this idea of parent and child, and how a father has to try and protect his son and teach his son to survive in a really dangerous and difficult world. There was that to it, and I liked that, and I enjoyed their relationship, but even that, I felt there had to be a certain distance from both the father and the narrative because it was such a bleak and difficult world. And I get the choices, it just wasn't enjoyable for me to read, so I'm going to put that there. Okay, so next is Erasure, and this is by Percival Everett. I'm putting this in This Was Fab. I really enjoyed this book. I actually read it next to Yellowface, because they both dealt with similar instances of the publishing industry's commodification of race. I just thought this was absolutely fabulous. So basically this follows a African-American writer, and he is known for writing kind of poetic, almost like Greek mythological retellings, and he's also a professor. He's got quite a flowery way of writing, and it's quite intellectual and academic, and he is often being told by his publisher that he's not writing fiction which is black enough for his identity as an author. So he decides to write a almost mock piece of literature. He writes it in like one night, I believe, that is basically just using all the worst stereotypes and gimmicks and tropes used to portray African Americans in a really negative light. And he sends it to his publisher, and they decide to send it through to see if it will get picked up. And the novel ends up being lauded as this like really powerful, raw, realistic depiction of the difficulties of the black experience in America, and is just completely celebrated in the literary scene. And it kind of follows the author's descent into madness. It's just brilliant. I loved it. Really enjoyed Percival Everett's writing style, and the narrative is just brilliant. I think at times I found it a little bit dense at times, and the middle section of the novel is the entirety of his fictional piece completely laid out. It's like 12-13 chapters of this mocking novel, and you read the whole thing. So it's a very experimental piece of work, but I did really enjoy it. There's a great movie as well called American Fiction, which is just absolutely fantastic. It stars Jeffrey Wright, who I just adore, so I really recommend the movie as well. I think that they did a great job with the movie. So yeah, brilliant. The next novel is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. I'm going to put this in love, love, love. I really enjoyed reading this. I found it very beautiful. This follows Demon Copperhead, or Damon, who is growing up in Appalachia, I believe, and he has a really difficult upbringing. He goes through a lot of trauma and kind of moves around trying to understand his place in the world. It also follows the opioid epidemic in America, which I found absolutely fascinating to learn about. I think the novel really highlighted how corrupt these medical organizations were in the ways that they promoted this drug, and then kind of blamed the people who became addicted to it. Just devastating. This novel was haunting, beautiful. There were times of real amazing humanity, and I just loved Damon so much. And I can't remember his friend's name now, the little girl, but she was amazing as well. This is a David Copperfield retelling as well, by the way. I didn't mention that before, but yeah, I just think it's fantastic. Really worth the read. I would highly recommend. The next is The Mountains Sing by Nguyen Phan Quay Mai, and this is going in This Was Fab. I loved this. So this is a multi-generational piece of fiction that follows a family in Vietnam during the 20th century, and it kind of has like two timelines. One is dealing with the Japanese occupation and the land reform in Vietnam, and it also follows through to the Vietnam War, or called the American War by Vietnamese. And it's just an absolutely stunningly beautiful story of resilience and resistance and female love and motherhood. It's fantastic. I was gripped from beginning to end. I got very emotional throughout this. I thought that the messaging and the history that it was showing was just really impactful, and I love a multi-generational fiction, so I very much enjoyed this one. The characters just as well, I absolutely adored them. I adored Grandma Julan and Huang as well. They have special places in my heart. I thought that there was some difficult topics that were handled well. A little bit of, I don't know how to explain this, but I felt a little bit like there was a lot of pressure on women in this narrative at times, which I didn't like too much, but overall it was beautiful and I would definitely recommend. Next is An American Marriage, which I also will put in This Was Fab. I really enjoyed this by Tiari Jones. It follows the story of Roy and Celestial, and this is a young married couple, young professionals, and one day Roy is arrested and charged with a murder that Celestial knows he is innocent of, but he ends up going to prison. Now the two of them over time drift apart, and Celestial finds comfort in a childhood friend of hers, and it really explores the dynamics between people and love and sacrifice, and it's just a really difficult situation for every character involved. And I think what was done so well in this novel is that you really understood and empathized with every character. For me at least, I really did. I understood everybody's motivations behind what they did, and even if I didn't agree with the choices that a lot of them made, I just saw that it was just a response to a really horrible and difficult circumstance, and just a great exploration of how people deal with living in a world that is not designed for their happiness. I loved it, thought it was great, the writing was brilliant. Okay, so we're coming on to the Hunger Games prequels. So I read both of these back to back this year. I hadn't read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes before because I just wasn't that interested. And I mean, I love The Hunger Games so much. For me, I was kind of like, well, if I'm getting a prequel, I don't really want it to be about snow. I'm not that fussed about it. So I kind of just skipped that one altogether. I hadn't watched the movie either. But then Sunrise on the Reaping was announced, and I was like, yes, please. I want to read Haymitch's Games. I was super excited about this. And I first read Sunrise on the Reaping. So I will say that this goes straight up into love, love, love. I was so happy. This was everything I wanted and more. Teenage me was just obsessed with the Hunger Games. I still watch it all the time. Katniss and Peeta are two of my favorite characters in fiction. I just think that the series holds up so strongly. The amazing themes, character development, the messaging, just absolutely brilliant. So when they announced this, I was very excited, and I had very high expectations, to be honest, but it was completely fulfilled. This novel really gave me the same feeling I had when I was reading The Hunger Games. I read this like all in one sitting, basically, and there was still lots of surprises. I have heard a few criticisms that some people felt it was a bit fan servicey. I don't think so, to be honest. For me, I just was so happy, so amazed, so grateful to be back in this world, and it really just hit the spot. So yeah, teenage me was having the best time that day. I loved it so much that I went on and immediately after I finished it, I picked up Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And this one I also enjoyed. I'm going to put this one in This Was Fab because I do think it was a bit slow at times. I think that the narrative wasn't as interesting to me as Sunrise on the Reaping, but I did like the information into Snow's head, and Lucy Gray was a fascinating character. I think there was a lot left unsaid in this novel that the reader can kind of piece together. You read this and you really understand that Snow is a very obsessive and controlling person right from the beginning. I really appreciated the way that his thoughts and feelings about Lucy Gray and about winning the competition and everything he did really felt selfishly motivated. I had no sympathy for Snow, and it was exactly kind of what I wanted. I was a bit surprised by the ending, but it did make sense to me, to be honest. And Lucy Gray as well. I really enjoyed her character. Again, I don't think she had feelings for Snow either. I don't think they had feelings for each other at all. Maybe other people totally disagree with me. I also appreciated learning how a lot of the elements of the later Hunger Games came to be. But there was also some misses. I wasn't too much of a fan of the games. So yeah, it was okay. Okay, I feel like I'm talking way too much. Oh, the lighting isn't too bad though. I'm not too upset with it. Next, we have It by Stephen King, and this is going into my love category. Oh, I've just realized I'm not placing them in order. I tell you what, we'll do that at the end. Stephen King, It. I have not stopped thinking about this since I read it, and I feel like I just love it more and more as time goes on. I'm constantly thinking about Derry. That was like my favorite part of the novel, was the town and the way the town was just given like a total character of its own. Just, it was so menacing and interesting and so full of depth. And the Losers Club might be some of my favorite characters in novels of all time. I still think about them all the time. I just adored it. I loved everything about this novel, apart from a few problematic things that I'm really sadder in this novel because it could have been like my new like loved world, and it still is, but there definitely were a few things that showed their age and I did not appreciate at all, like, you know, treatment of women, the over sexualization of women and children, and yeah, just some of the more graphic scenes I didn't like at all. But I just honestly adored it so much. I think this might be one of my favorite reads of the year. I still think about it all the time, and I've heard that there's a new series out, Welcome to Derry, which, wow, I'm so here for. I cannot wait for that. Okay, next, Normal People. Okay, Normal People by Sally Rooney. I'm going to put this in, ooh, this is hard. I'm going to put this in but at the top, and I'll say why. I did really like this novel. I might change it into This Was Fab, but for right now I'm going to put it in F because I loved the writing style. I did actually really enjoy Sally Rooney's way of writing things, and I think this might be one of the first books that has really bad miscommunication that I didn't mind too much because it felt quite realistic. A lot of the time miscommunication is one of my like least favorite tropes in literature, but this one I actually felt I really understood the characters a lot. I loved Marianne and I just wanted all good things for her. Connell really irritated me, but I feel like I understood him by the end, and he did really grow on me by the end. I just felt that this was a very insightful look into young love and young relationships and trying to find ourselves and find our place in the world. But I feel like maybe some of these topics were raised but not delved into deeply enough. I also did definitely find it a bit tiresome, the like back and forth, but I did overall really enjoy it. So I thought it was very well written and I liked the characters. I think it's just not going to be something that I write home about, and that's why it's here. So I'm not really sure. I feel a bit decisive about this because like there's not really anything negatively I can think of to say right now, but it just didn't really hit for me to a huge level. Okay, yeah, let's just keep it there for now. Okay, White Teeth by Zadie Smith. Ooh, I'm gonna put this in annoyed me. No? Annoyed me? No, I'm gonna put this in and here's why. I thought that the themes and the exploration of the experience of people who migrate to London was just terrific, amazing, fascinating. I loved how insightful this narrative felt and how many different layers there were. It was very well written, but I think maybe it just really dragged for me. I think it was a very big book without too much happening, and I just got a bit bored of the pacing, I think, but it did have some good characters in there and some good conversations. So yeah, kind of like the middle of the barrel for me. We have Siege and Storm here, but I'm not going to do that until I do the first in the series, which is Shadow and Bone. So I'm going to leave that for now. Okay, Tom Lake by Anne Patchett. This is also going to go in F for me. I did enjoy this. It is about a family who come together during the pandemic. It is a mother and her 3 daughters, and they all kind of come back to the family home and learn a bit more about each other. I thought that this was very well written and it was a beautiful exploration of mothers and daughters. So it was very well done in that way. I think that there was some good conversations to be had about how traumas from our childhood very rarely just go away and they keep cropping up, and the different relationships between the mother and her daughters was fascinating. But again, I think this novel suffered from a lack of plot. I can appreciate novels that really delve into some literary themes and some interesting conversations, but I think that if it's just kind of people talking, doing day-to-day activities, I can get a bit bored of that. So yeah, that's going to go there. The next novel, Exit West, is going to go into This Was Fab. So I really enjoyed this. This is Exit West by Mohsin Hamid, and this follows a couple, Nadia and Saeed, in a country which I believe we never get specified which country it is, but it's a country on the brink of civil war. And what happens is a kind of magical realism where these doors and archways start appearing all around the world, where you can just walk through it and you will end up somewhere else around the globe. You don't know where you're going to be going, but a lot of these characters are dealing with such a difficult circumstance in their home country that they decide to take the risk and walk through these doors. And this follows the couple as they kind of move around the globe and deal with different struggles where migration is concerned and crossing borders. There's a lot of really great imagery and exploration of the difficulties of leaving your home and also not being welcomed in a new home. I just really loved the concept here. For me, it wasn't like love, 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 because I wish we had more on this idea of the doorways and the magical realism of it, and the conversations to do with immigration and, you know, borders and how that affects people's lives and communities, and how small communities kind of form in the midst of these difficult times. But I do think that there was quite a heavy focus, especially towards the end, on the relationship, and I wasn't as interested in that side of it. So I wish that we'd had a bit more to do with the magical realism and the topics than the relationship. So that's why it's not in the higher category. Okay, next is Stephen King's Misery. I'm going to put this in. This was fab as well. I really enjoyed Misery. I thought that the tension, it was just terrifying at times. I couldn't breathe because it was so scary. Annie Wilkes, absolutely terrifying. What a scary, scary individual. Oh my goodness. I thought that the pacing of this novel was just so fantastic, considering it all takes place in one setting. This follows a novelist who has a best-selling book series about misery, and he has the #1 fan of him find him in a car crash and basically nurse him back to health and take him back to her home. But there's a catch, because she did not like how he ended the last novel that he wrote, and she wants him to create a brand new one. The cat and mouse play of this and Paul Sheldon's just slow deterioration of his ability to feel like a man and feel safe, and it's just, God, it's done so well. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It's not in my love, love, love category, mainly because it just hasn't stuck quite in my mind or in my heart as much as these ones in the top have, but it was still a great read. Okay, Isabel Allende, The Wind Knows My Name. I read this for a book group read, and I'm going to put this in. This was fab. This features a few different time periods and places. We have a young Jewish boy in, I believe, Austria, who has to flee, but his parents can't come with him, so he is sent to London alone. We also deal with another young girl who has a similar mirroring story. She has fled from South America and been separated from her mother at the border. This goes into a lot of themes about, again, displacement and needing to flee your home country because of, danger. And it does a really good job of reflecting a lot of different time periods. I think that Isabel Allende is a great writer, knows how to really develop some characters that you just really enjoy reading about. So yeah, I would recommend this one. I thought it was very beautiful. I think at times the writing could have been a little bit simplistic for me. I would have liked a bit more maybe nuance or implication rather than an outright kind of characters verbally expressing what the themes and messages of the novel are, but overall it was enjoyable. Future Home of the Living God. I'm gonna put this one in there. This is kind of like a dystopian society, a little bit like The Handmaid's Tale, where women's pregnancies are being reported to the government and a woman becomes pregnant and goes into hiding. It's interesting and it follows a lot of great ideas and themes, I believe, in terms of the oppression of women and the control of women's bodies, and there's some elements in there as well about Indigenous people. It does a lot and it brings up a lot, but I think overall it felt disappointing. The ending wasn't great for me, and it just, at times it held my attention, at times it didn't. I felt like it could have done a lot more than it did. Okay, next is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. So this was one of the first romance novels I have ever read. I'm not really a romance reader, but I wanted to kind of broaden my horizons this year, which is why I've read a bit more horror, a bit more mystery, and a bit more romance. And I must say that this one did not do it for me. This one is going in no, just no. Oh, or do I put it in annoyed me? No, I'm putting in no, just no. I genuinely really hate this book, and I still hate it to this day. And I think I hate it so much because it could have been great. And I think that's why I hate it so much. So this follows a woman, I think Piper her name is, who is quite a spoiled socialite, rich girl, kind of in the celebrity culture of LA. And she goes too far one day and is sent to live in the small town where her father is originally from. Her father died when she was very young. And so she goes to this small town, and there she meets a hunky, tall, very broad, very masculine man, and there is a romance that develops from that. I really think there was elements of this that were great, and I think Piper was one of them. Piper's character I really enjoyed. I thought that her learning about her history and understanding her father and why he loved this small town so much and what made it so special, and then her kind of coming to terms with who she is as a person as well, and how she maybe has been focused on and prioritizing things that just really weren't good for her. That was a great part of the story, and I wish that we would have focused on that more. But I did not like the romance. I did not like the male love interest. I thought he was very, I'm a man and you're a woman and I can make you feel so small and looked after. And it just really grated on me, to be honest. I also didn't like that I felt like 1 minute he was criticizing her and being really judgmental of her whilst sexualizing her. And then the next minute he was totally in love with her and would do anything for her. And how dare anybody say anything bad to you ever? How could anyone have made you feel bad about yourself? And you're just like, you literally are the same as all of them. Also, I did not enjoy the steamy scenes in this. I found them very not for me. I don't enjoy, like I say, the whole she was so small and he was so big trope at all. So yeah, this one just really didn't do it for me at all. I did not like the love story. I did not like the male love interest, and I was upset that we didn't get more of Piper and her journey to self-discovery. So yeah, I guess that's me. Okay, next is Homegoing. This is going in love. Oh, this is one of my favorite books. So brilliant, by Yagyasi. This follows the story of two sisters who share the same mother but do not know this and have different fathers, and one of them basically marries a white man who has come and taken control of a castle in Ghana, and the other is sold into slavery and kept in the dungeons of the castle before she is sent to America to become a slave. And we basically trace the lineages of both sisters up to the present day, and there was just so much in this novel. The ambition of Yagyasi and the way that she just featured and covered so much history and so many different characters. It was just fascinating. So each chapter follows a specific character, and you only get one chapter with each character. And you might see them pop up again in later chapters, but most of the time it's just one. And honestly, like, I just fell in love with every single character in this novel. There was not a dull moment for me. I thought the pacing was excellent. We were told just what we needed to be told, and it was just, oh my god, so beautiful. So beautiful. I loved all the characters, and this was just a joy to read, honestly. Fantastic. Going from one of my favorites, actually, to one of my absolute least favorites here, and that is The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen. And this is going in no, just no. No. This is my kind of most hated fiction, to be honest with you. And that is the fiction that I call the straight white male, egotistical, I'm so artsy and deep, but I think everybody else is stupid kind of fiction. Yeah, I mean, that wasn't harsh at all, was it, Billy? Some people really like this. Some people think it's a great representation of, you know, the everyday experience. It's from a genre called realism, which, you know, follows, you know, the basic family dynamics in our contemporary society. But it just does not do it for me at all. I hated it. I just was so frustrated by all the characters. I know you're not supposed to like them. I feel like you're supposed to dislike all of the characters, and I did. But I feel like there's supposed to be like some greater purpose to these kinds of novels, and I never find them. I always just think, what a waste of my time they have been for me to read them, and it always just feels like it's told in such a pretentious way, and I'm just like, oh, it's just awful. And also there was a scene of one character who is a professor who has an affair with a student who like smells her after they've been intimate together on, like, she's left, and he smells the couch and like gets himself off, and it's just revolting, just the absolute last thing that I want to be reading. So yeah, deeply hated this book. Sorry to Jonathan Franzen, but it is just not for me. Like, these are the types of books that genuinely make me regret reading. Okay, next. The Housemaid, Frida McFadden. Ooh, I don't know where to place this. I'm going to put it in air because as much as I thought this was a bit eye-rolly, I thought the writing was a bit ridiculous. I thought the characters came across as irritating and just didn't make sense a lot of the time. This follows a woman recently released from prison who needs a job and is hired as a housemaid by a wealthy family, and just some weird goings on happen and you kind of have to like figure out what they are. Now, I just felt like this was just so full of tropes and predictable twists. I don't even read mystery thrillers really, and I just felt like I completely understood what was happening and what was going to happen, and I wasn't really surprised. But at the same time, it was a quick read. It was fun. It was good times. I also found myself wanting to watch the madness unfold. So I did enjoy it, and I read it mainly because I'm quite excited to watch Amanda Seyfried in this kind of a movie, and I will be watching that when it comes out. But yeah, it was fun. Okay, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Oh, Addie LaRue. You know, I want to put this in annoyed me because it genuinely really annoyed me, but there were elements to it that I really enjoyed, so I'm going to put it in as well. Now, I feel like this is quite controversial, and I will explain. I feel like this is my book. This feels like exactly what I want. I love historical fiction. I love fantasy. I love magic. I love all of these elements. So like adding them all together in one should have been exactly what I wanted. And I was so upset by how this unfolded. I felt that Addie as a character did not change. Like, you're telling me that she has been around for 300 years and she's exactly the same character as she was back then. But I think it's more that like, it wasn't that she hadn't changed from back then. She just felt like a contemporary 21st century girl that we're reading about in France from like 300 years ago. So that didn't really makes sense to me. I mean, I guess the point was that she was supposed to be quite ahead of her time, and that's why she wanted to make this deal. So basically, this girl, Addie LaRue, she doesn't want to be stuck as a traditional wife in this one village. She likes exploration. She loves learning new things and experiencing new things. So she makes a deal one night with, I guess, the devil, and that is to be immortal and to experience as much of the world as she has to offer, and she gets to leave her home. But the catch is that every single person that she encounters will forget her as soon as she is out of their eye line. This novel just cared so much about the romance over how fascinating being alive for 300 years would have been, how many things she would have seen, and also all the pain and trauma that would come with being forgotten and not being able to make any meaningful connections. And this isn't really a spoiler because it's on the blurb, but eventually she does meet somebody who remembers her. I feel like that would have just been such an intense and crazy experience, but just everything felt like it didn't have that high stakes. Like, I wanted the stakes to be so much higher. I wanted to see so many more different cultures and moments of history and what Addie learned and grew from, and how lonely she became and how difficult her life was, and how just completely broken she would be when somebody finally does remember her. And I appreciated that we kind of got a bit of like a trauma bond type relationship between her and this entity, this evil entity, Luke. I did really appreciate that, and the way she kind of felt almost connected to him because he was her only constant. So yeah, this should have been my favorite, and it just let me down, and I'm so sad about it because I feel like the concept and the ideas were so fantastic. I wanted to like this so much more than I did. I just felt like it was a bit too surface level for me. The ideas were so much stronger than the execution. Okay, next is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I'm gonna put this in This Was Fab. This was the romance I read, which I did really enjoy. I really liked both of the main characters. I loved the concept concept. So this follows two writers, one who predominantly writes romance, one who predominantly writes kind of more dark literary fiction. And because they are both in a slump, they agreed to trade genres and also help the other by conducting research into that genre. And they also were like academic rivals at school, and they're in this small town, and January, the protagonist, is dealing with some difficult stuff in her personal life. Her father has just died, and she has found out that he was having an affair after the fact. So she's really struggling with some difficult emotions and situations. I really liked the small town setting. I enjoyed both the characters, and I found their romance to be fun and quirky and, you know, like silly and kind of playful, which I enjoyed. But I think this would have been elevated even more if there was more focus on the actual writing process and how they were challenging each other. I would have liked more of the outings where they were kind of teaching each other about their genre. I think I would have liked more as well to hear about the novels that they kind of came up with on the end. I felt like it became a bit of a back burner by the end. And this next sentence is going to be a bit of a spoiler, so just skip ahead if you don't want to hear it. But I also really hate the trope where, oh, he loved her the whole time. Like, it really undoes a lot of things for me. It kind of feels like that, and it was all a dream kind of thing, because part of the fun for me was seeing them fall for each other and realize that they were wrong about each other. But this kind of was like oh, he knew her all along and he admired her all along. And I honestly don't really like that. It kind of cheapens it for me. This is the end of the spoiler. Other than that, I did really enjoy it. I liked Emily Henry's writing and I thought it was fun. Okay, next. No one is talking about this. Patricia Lockwood. Annoyed me, really annoyed me. I honestly almost DNF'd this book, and I don't really DNF books, but the first half, oh no, hopefully my audio has been okay. I've just realised I wasn't speaking into the right part of the microphone for a while, probably. Anyway, this video is going to be a bit of a train wreck. It's okay, we move. Yes, and I normally don't DNF books, but this one, the first half is just ridiculous meme references, like online speak, Twitter speak, all of these kind of silly anecdotes and viral information that all has kind of like real links to the world. And I believe this author was quite a big social media figure. And I just honestly, I try to get away from this as much as possible in my daily life. I avoid social media quite a lot. I enjoy Instagram, and I used to enjoy Twitter a lot, but recently I just don't anymore. So I avoid this as much as possible in my life, and then I felt like I was being forced into this world, and I guess that is the point. Like later on in the novel, like the protagonist has this really difficult personal experience that really changes the way she views life and views social media and reality and what matters. And like, that's great. And I did really enjoy the moving sentiment towards the end of the novel, and I believe it's based on the author's real life, which I appreciate, but it just couldn't save the actual physical pain I experienced in the first half of this novel. I just not for me. I can't get down with that world. So yeah. Next, what you were looking for is in the library. I'm gonna put this at the top of maybe behind Normal People. Yeah. I know I'm going to rearrange these afterwards, but I'm just doing this one now, apparently. So what you were looking for is in the library by Michiko Aoyama. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was sweet. It was a nice, easy read. I just picked it up every now and then and read a chapter. They're almost like small little short stories, and it basically follows a group of people who visit a library and get given a specific recommendation by the librarian there that really influences them and changes their outlook and their path in life. And it was just really nice. And I loved reading about all the characters and the way that literature and reading and libraries, I'm a librarian, so I love libraries, how they can really change your life and give you new perspective. And a lot of the characters, it was about them finding who they are and what they're really passionate about, which I think for me is literature, so that was really great. At times the writing was a little bit dull. Like I wanted it maybe to be a little bit more moving than it was, but I would consider this very cozy, just enjoyable. I just really liked it, but it just wasn't anything spectacular, I would say. I enjoyed it, but I probably wouldn't reread it, if that makes sense. I learned a few things from it though. I found that there was some like take-homes that you could have from this one. Rampant fat phobia, though, which kept coming up time and time again, which I just was not a fan of. But yeah, I've just realised I don't think Shadow and Bone is on here. I've been waiting for it this whole time, and it's not here. Oh, well, that's very annoying. Give me 1 second. Okay, we are back, and we have Shadow and Bone now. Okay, so Shadow and Bone. Do you know, it's funny because I've put Ninth House in but then I want to put Shadow and Bone in This Was Fab. But I did Shadow and Bone 3.5 rounded down, and I did Ninth House 3.5 rounded up. I think Ninth House just disappointed me more, so this is my tier ranking. I'm going to put it where I want. I'm going to put this in This Was Fab, because I think that for what it was, a YA fantasy, I thought it did a great job. Like, it's never, I wouldn't say never, because I do love YA, but I don't think it has that much of a chance of being like one of my all-time favourites if it's kind of tropey and a bit, you know, silly, and the characters can be a bit teenagey. But for what it was, I thought it did a great job. I really enjoyed the world. I really enjoyed the characters, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Siege and Storm, I'm going to put in I didn't like this as much as the first one. I think at times I was just really bored and just wanted to move on. I liked the introduction of a new character. I thought they were interesting, but just the kind of love story and the pining and the miscommunication and jealousy, and it just kind of grated on me a bit. So I wanted more about the world, and I didn't really get it, and I felt like there wasn't that much plot here. So yeah, I'm gonna say that. I did like the ending though. And last but not least is Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. I'm gonna put this in This Was Fab. This was a really short read, but definitely impactful. I thought that Claire Keegan's writing of a certain time of year in a small town in Ireland was just stunning. I really felt immersed in that world, and I thought it was just so simplistic and elegant in the way that it tackled some really difficult themes and the meaning of how to care about others and making difficult choices that maybe other people would turn their backs on. It was just done so subtly and gracefully, and I just thought it was excellent. Really good. What a way of being able to tell a story in such a small amount of time. Like, don't get me wrong, I think I would have loved more, but it really set out to do what it wanted to do, and I think it did it beautifully. And also, I just adore this cover. I think it's amazing. Okay, so those are all the books I read this year. So I guess that's 29 rather than 28. Only 2 that I really hated and 2 that annoyed me. So I say 4. I think 4 here are below the 3-star mark, which is actually quite good. Yeah, if I look at it, I believe Siege and Storm I gave 3 stars, The Housemaid 3 stars, Tom Lake 3 stars. Yeah. So let me just try and kind of organize these. So yeah, I hated the corrections the most, and then it happened one summer. I would say I hated The Road more. My favorite in this category, I think it is Normal People. I think that one is definitely my favorite. Yeah. And then I'm going to go for, I think I'm going to go for Ninth House next. No, I'm going to go for What You're Looking For Is in the Library, and then Ninth House. Yeah, that seems right to me. Then I'm going to put The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, because like I said, there were elements that I really liked about this, and I was just upset. Then I'm going to put probably Tom Lake, and then White Teeth. Then I'm going to put The Housemaid, because I did enjoy it. I had fun. Yeah. Future Home of the Living God, and then Siege and Storm. Siege and Storm just wasn't the best follow-up for me. Okay, next category. What is my favorite in here? I think it's Small Things Like These, you know. As I just talked about it, I think it's really sat with me, and it's really held up. So yeah, I'm going to go with Small Things Like These. Next, I am going to pick... This is so hard in this category, to be honest. I think, which one did I love the most? I really enjoyed An American Marriage. Yeah, An American Marriage. Then I'm going to put Yellow Face. And then I'm going to put Beach Read. Then Erasure. Yeah, because I really enjoyed Erasure. I think it was just some of the writing that didn't do it for me, but the themes and the plot, the ideas were just great. Then Misery. Yeah. Then The Mountains Sing. Then Ballads... No, then Shadow and Bone. Now I'm going to put Shadow and Bone here because I loved The Mountains Sing so much. Oh, I really did love it though. Okay, I'm just going to leave it there. That's just what my gut is telling me. And then I'm going to say The Wind Knows My Name, then Ballad, then XOS. Yeah. Okay, my favourite book of the year. This is hard. There's a lot of real good ones here. Okay, it's got to be Homegoing for me, I think. I loved it so much that I wrote an entire master's dissertation on the topic. So yeah, I wrote it on multi-generational fiction and trauma. And this was inspired by this book. So thank you to Homegoing. I loved you. Next is It by Stephen King. I just thought, it's just held such a strong connection in my heart. Like I just keep looking up like YouTube videos about the layout of Derry and stuff and the history of Derry because I just want to remind myself because I loved it so much. Okay, next is going to be Dinner for Vampires. I think just my personal connection with One Tree Hill and Joy and how much I love her and being able to hear her story just really impacted me and moved me, and I thought that she just did such a great job of describing a really difficult topic. And then I'm going to say Sunrise on the Reaping because even though it might not be like the best book ever written, it just was so much joy for my heart. And then Demon Copperhead, yeah. I feel like I'm happy with that. Although, do you know what? I'm going to move this up and I'm going to put it before Demon Copperhead because I just think it really was a special, special book that I haven't seen done so well before. So, that is it. These are all the books I read in 2025. I'm very excited to move on to 2026, where hopefully I can read a lot more books. And I hope that this video kind of gave you a little bit more information about me, what I like to read, what I found good and what I don't like. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be coming back to you soon with some more videos for the new year. I have got some of these book featured. I will be having a romance video. What else do I have on here? Oh yeah, a BookTok reads. So some of these I read because they were BookTok books. So you'll get like a lot more of my thoughts on these novels. And I'm also going to be coming in with 26 books to read in 2026. So we can start putting a TBR together for the new year. How exciting. Have a great rest of your day. Hopefully the lighting hasn't been too bad for you. And I will see you again soon.